are back. You might be asking, well, where did you go, brother? Well, I actually didn't go anywhere, but I'm just happy to be returning to making these videos after almost 4 years. We left off on the part 3 of the histories of the Brothers Mercy Wellness Campus sometime back before COVID, so it's been almost 4 years now. And so, like as I stated, I'm happy to be back. And it's kind of a recap of the past. Just to some reminders. The Brothers of Mercy, our community, the Brothers of Mercy, are currently Brothers of Mercy of Mary Helper Christians from Trier, Germany. But for many years, from the founding of the Brothers of Mercy, the original Brothers of Mercy group that we were part of was founded in 1856 near Limburg, Germany. And that was the Brothers of Mercy of Montabaur. And our community here in North America remained part of the Brothers of Mercy of Montabaur until 2016. But we will cover that more in the next video, part 5. But as part of the recap, the brothers settled here in Western New York in Buffalo in June 24th, 1924. At the time, there were 5 brothers, and their superior general came with them, but after they settled, he went back to Germany and the 5 stayed. So we had 5 brothers who lived in 2 parishes in the city of Buffalo, downtown Buffalo, for a year. Then, at a time in 1925, they purchased a house on Cottage Street in Buffalo, which is on Cottage Street near the corner of College, not far from where Kleinhans Music Hall is. And other locations the brothers served in America were Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri, which over the years both of those places have closed down, as well as the residence on Jewett Parkway in Buffalo, which the brothers sold to Canisius College in 1997. Then, of course, during that time, the brothers purchased land here in Clarence, the land where we currently reside, where we are filming, and where all our holdings are currently held. So that was kind of the look back. And that brings us up to 1999, which is good for me because I had already been here as a brother and been part of this community. So anything from 1999 going forward, I'm very well familiar with. And fortunately, I haven't lost my mind enough to forget too much of the stuff that has happened. So as we see, if you look here, we have a banner. At that time in 1999, our community, the Brothers of Mercy, was celebrating the 75th anniversary of being in Western New York. So the top building here is the, what we call now, was the old Sacred Heart Home. At the time it was the Brothers of Mercy Sacred Heart Home, which was the adult care facility. And actually, when it was built in the 1950s, the north wing, which was the original wing, was the original nursing home for the campus. And down below is our current nursing and rehab center, which was built in 1976. So they're both displaying banners to celebrate the 75th anniversary. And up here, going back to Sacred Heart Home, this is the statue of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is still on top of the building. To the right, we have a citation from former Governor George Pataki, the former governor of New York State. The citation is dated June 27, 1999. And the below humorous, well, it's full of the whereas that political figures and dignitaries, and they write citations. I'll just read the first line. Whereas, throughout, you know what, actually I can't even read it, so I'll I won't bother, but yes, that was a very lovely citation sent by Governor Pataki. And then we have, in these pictures here, is the current to the left. These two pictures are the brothers' current residence. That at that time you could tell it was mostly constructed, but it was still in that construction phase. So we got to the point where we could hang the banner up on the facility. And as you see up here, that is Bishop Manziel, former Bishop of Buffalo, who was on campus that day to bless our new residents. And we have one brother here, I think he's no longer with us, obviously he's holding the umbrella, and a few of us there who were assisting Brother Bishop Manziel with the blessing. This was a rendering of what the facility, the residence would look like when it was finished. And down here we had our former provincial, Brother Jude Holzforster, with our former Superior General, Brother Stefan Geisler. And they were just reviewing the sketching, the renderings of the facility. So we jumped to 2000, and as you see, both of these articles, one article and a letter. In 2000, prior to the brothers moving into our facility, it was almost in conjunction with, the brothers gifted 2 acres of our 126 acres of land to, it says the town, but I'll read, it says the Brothers of Mercy given 2 of the 126 acres around the Ransom Road complex to neighboring Clarence Fillmore Cemetery Association as a gift to the town. The donation is part of the brothers' 75th anniversary in America, and that was a quote from Brother Jude. The cemetery needs land, and this deed will provide room for 52 additional plots or graves near our new residence. And at the time, and it eventually happened, where we planned to move the graves of 16 deceased brothers as well as some lay people who were buried actually behind, well, the old cemetery was adjacent to the building we're currently filming in at this time. So the graves were exhumed and moved over to the new acreage on the cemetery. Now, instead of the campus taking care of the deceased brothers' graves, the Cemetery Association is responsible, so that was part of the trade. And that's what this letter here refers to. On the left here, again continue with 2000, donation of a brick to the Sisters of Mercy in the year 2000 in memory of our 75th anniversary. And another anniversary we were celebrating was the Brothers of Mercy Nursing and Rehab Center observed the 25th anniversary. So it shows that the Nursing and Rehab Center was established in 1980. Just a quick one. After I joined in 1996, this statue was erected, statue of St. Francis, and this beautiful garden area was made around with benches and bricks. And as the title states, St. Francis Garden enhanced through generous donations from the community. Several improvements have been made in the St. Francis Garden area on the Eden pathway, including engravings of the entry bricks and the 3-tiered garden. In addition, 2 granite benches were placed adjacent to the circular area. And over the years, we've been blessed with families, loved ones of former residents, patients, and the brothers have purchased benches and bricks, so this area has expanded. If you go there now, the whole circular area is filled with benches, granite benches. Oh, somehow somebody snuck in a picture of yours truly, and that was back in 2001 when I was still a temporarily professed brother, but I was named to the board of directors. One of the older professed brothers felt it was time for him to retire. He was no longer able to serve on the board, so they decided in their wisdom to choose me to fill in the board of directors. And also, unfortunately, as most of us will recall, September of 2001 is the tragic events of 9/11. And the article in the Brothers of Mercy Focus stated, "We join with Americans throughout the world in mourning the loss of those who were victims of terrorist attacks on September 11th. And many of us who are alive, and either young adults, children who are no old enough, young adults, and older adults, we would remember where we were. At that time, I was a student at DeUville College in Buffalo, studying for my master's degree in Health Services Administration. And during that time, I was completing a 2.5-week internship at the former Deaconess Nursing Home in Buffalo. So I happened to be sitting in a morning report, and one of the nurse managers kind of burst in the room and kind of overly excited, and we didn't know what the reasoning for her excitement until she asked us to come out and see what was going on. And then we could see all the devastation being played out on TV after the towers were struck and all the news was on hand. So at that time, the administrator of the nursing home said, "Brother, you better go back to your campus and see where they need help." On a lighter note that year, a much happier note, the Brothers of Mercy campus was named Clarence Business of the Year. Clarence Chamber of Commerce has named the Brothers of Mercy Business of the Year for 2002. Two members of the organization notified Brother Jude Holzforster of the award in early November. So in November 2001, the brothers were named as Business of the Year for 2002. Internet technology was all now a commonplace of our lives, but at that time, as the article states, internet technology keeps seniors in touch with the world. So that's basically the time where the campus started becoming inundated, becoming more part of the internet world, and the internet world became more part of us. And that's when our former IT manager, Tom Hopkins, started bringing on computers to the campus for residents. And it shows a former resident, Mary Dugan, surfs the internet with her 2-year-old grandson, Jacob, during a visit to the Brothers of Mercy Nursing and Rehab Center in Clarence. In 2002 continued. The brothers, and I believe this is the first of many, our foundation began the first Caritas dinner, and in the picture, Monsignor Richard Wetter was named as our first humanitarian of the year. Nearly 300 people turned out to honor Richard J. Wetter, the Humanitarian of the Year, the Humanitarian of the Year dinner dance on March 16th. The original Caritas dinner was held at Our Lady of Peace Parish here in Clarence at the Monsignor Hamrill Hall, following a special mass in which Monsignor's closest friends and former seminary classmates participated. And over on this side, it was just another article from our campus. The Nursing and Rehab Center prepared for an eventful September. And at that time, the campus was preparing for the 20,000 patient at the Nursing and Rehab Center. And they were also dedicating, well, actually it was the second nature walk that which began at the St. Francis statue, and also first in a series of community forums, which was held at 2 p.m. in the first floor activity area on Thursday, September 26th. At that time, the topic for the community outreach program would be wills and estates, which is always a timely topic, especially for those who are aging. 2002 also saw the celebration of Brother Jude's 50th Jubilee, the Golden Jubilee, which he celebrated on September 8th, 2002. And getting back on this side, when we actually welcomed the 20,000th patient to the Nursing and Rehab Center, the former administrator, Mr. Richard Cleveland, welcomed the 20,000th rehab patient, Rose Rosinski, and presented her with a bouquet of flowers and a citation. And after all these years, since that's been 21 years now, when we get to part 5, I will be updating on the current statistics. So, 2003, the question was asked, are there really brothers at the Brothers of Mercy campus? And this may sound kind of absurd question, but we got that pretty often, especially not so much the brothers, but a lot of the lay people work there since our community has been so small. And of course it's smaller now. Some of the lay people would hear the question, or somebody would pose the question, are there actually brothers here at the Brothers of Mercy? And they would say yes. So Pam Clark, who at the time was our public relations coordinator of the campus, wrote the article, yes, there are really brothers at the Brothers of Mercy. And I would know even at times when I was up in the facilities, they would say, who are you? And I would say, I'm Brother Kenneth. Oh, you're a real brother. And here in the picture we show Brother Terrence, one of the older brothers, who was meeting with a former resident that I knew well, Anna Deskevich, who was one of our nursing and rehab residents, and they seemed to be looking through a book. But it was also funny, some notes I made about that, I would hear questions like, oh brother, what kind of brother are you? Are you a Franciscan? I'd say, no, we're Brothers of Mercy. Imagine that. But then getting up to another part of 2003, one of our former provincials and former assistant provincials, Brother John McGrath, bid us a farewell as he passed away that year. It is always difficult to come to grips with the death of a friend, but it's awful easier when the loss is shared with others. On February 3rd, the Brothers of Mercy campus, brothers, employees, residents, volunteers, friends, and family came together to support one another following the death of Brother John McGrath, who at the time was 75 years old. Brother John was originally from Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, and joined the congregation in 1955. He made his final profession of vows in 1963. Brother John was a registered nurse, and as I stated, he served in many other positions, including provincial superior and assistant superior, as well as the brother's bookkeeper. Briefly, the Brothers of Mercy were among one of the first facilities in Western New York that carried defibrillators. So it shows a photo which 3 of the employees, I think at least one of them's current, but 3 employees were being trained on how to use the defibrillator. Then in the middle, if you're ever at the nursing and rehab center or the former Sacred Heart home, there's a tunnel that goes in between. And at that time, a group of students from Clarence Schools, in conjunction with an art teacher, they painted the wall of the tunnel to spruce up the tunnel and bring a lively atmosphere to all who passed by. So the garden walkway was dedicated, which consisted of pictures of flowers and birds, of nature scenes. So that was a welcome sight to our campus. And again, back for a minute, and again it says, tunnel undergoes transformation, becomes inviting floral garden walk planted by enthusiastic students. And that is also another picture of our former administrator, Mr. Cleveland. So, and also in 2003, the Brothers of Mercy dedicated a new van. And one of our current brothers, Brother Fidelis Verall, conducted a prayer service and led in the blessing of the new van at the time. Above we have Brothers of Mercy, last sect of monks, continuing tradition of caring. Well, technically, in a sense, our community were not monks in a technical sense, but that is a long story which I'll spare you of. But we are kind of associated with monks. And this picture shows Brother Xavier O'Neill, who passed away just a few years ago. He was at the time the oldest and longest tenured brother in our community. One of the one of the original American brothers to join, Americans to join after Germans came here. And then the bottom, Brother Xavier is also shown with Brother Brendan Croston, the late Brother Brendan. And this photo over here shows Brother Brendan and Brother Xavier walking in front of our residence. Again in 2003, Brother Jude was re-elected Brothers of Mercy Provincial. And then in addition, Brothers Edward Lewis, Terrence Mansfield, Hugh Deneme, and Fidelis Verall were all elected to serve on the board. 2004, Brothers celebrate Jubilee, and at the time our Superior General from Germany joined us. Brother Edmund celebrated his 25th anniversary. Brother Fidelis in the middle and Brother Stephen Geisler both celebrated their 40th Jubilees. And on the end, this was former Brother Lawrence, who had renewed his vows. And last but not least, Brother Jude, that was the actual celebration of his 50th Jubilee. And I remember that occasion well, for the Mass, but also for the wonderful cake we had. I couldn't tell you what we had for the meal, but obviously I do remember the cake, and it was delicious. 2005, and that was around the time I went to work in the foundation, the Brothers Mercy Foundation, and the Clarence Rotary sponsored a variety show to benefit the Brothers Mercy campus, produced by Pat Casilio Sr. and Casey Andrzejewski, and it was directed by Philip Casilio. Pat Sr. and Casey were very big contributors to the campus, very big supporters, and they wanted to do something different, so they organized a variety show at the Clarence High School auditorium. It was very wonderful. We had a variety of singers, comedian, and other types of entertainment. And another fundraiser that was fairly new at the time was the annual Garden Gala, which I think was started about a year or two before. And last but not least, in 2005, actually, was March 12, 2005, when I celebrated my final profession of vows, perpetual profession of vows, which means everyone here will stick with me for life. 2006, the Brothers of Mercy celebrate the 150th anniversary of our founding. So if you notice, there was a lot of anniversaries during this time, either here in Western New York, Jubilees of the Brothers, or when we were founded in Germany. Then we celebrated the Bavarian Fest in September 15, 2006, and the 150th Jubilee Mass. So there are several photos from both events. Another Caritas dinner in 2007, we awarded former bishop, retired bishop, now deceased Bishop Edward Kimmick, and the Clarence Rotary Club. And as many of you know, we suffered the effects of the October storm. That was the year of the Great October Storm, where we lost power for 5 days. In areas of Clarence, Waynesville, Amherst, lost many trees and down power lines. Brothers of Mercy looks back on 65 years of service. So at the time in 2008, Brother Xavier celebrated his 65th Jubilee. Brothers of Mercy Campus reach out to residents, Brothers of Mercy volunteers and residents reach out to Flight 3407 responders. And for those of you who don't know, Flight 3407 was a tragic incident where airplane that was coming from New Jersey crashed in Clarence Center on its way approaching the Buffalo airport. 50 lives, if I'm not mistaken, 50 lives were lost and 2 houses were destroyed. Brothers of Mercy reaches a milestone, and it's just recapping that the Brothers of Mercy had been 85 years since they came to Western New York, 2008. And so, we will continue on with our next presentation of the history of Brothers of Mercy, Part 5. So stay tuned. There's a lot more has happened and a lot more happening, and we will take you from 2010 up to the current day. Thank you, and come back and join us.